the Rude Awakening Tour podcast.
Seats, Spark seats. Anyways, I'd like to welcome you here today to the Rude Awakening Tour podcast. I'm Mike Rude, and I'll be your host. So, Stephan, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
I'm Stephan Beardwood. Originally, I was born Kingston, Waterloo area, and I grew up in Southern Ontario.
Nice. And whereabouts are you living now?
Currently, I'm just on the other side of Kingston in a small town called Gananoque. It's a gateway to the Thousand Islands. And so,
Yes, beautiful area, eh?
yeah, very nice.
Yeah. And so if you want to give us a brief biography of yourself, when did you join the military, or where'd you, growing up?
Yeah. Well, growing up in Southern Ontario, we were outdoors running the Grand River from one end of it to the other as I was growing up. So it was just natural from there to go into the military because I was already an outdoorsy kind of guy. And from there, once I got into the military, and then I saw the Airborne in operation, I thought, got to go there now. And so I ended up in Petawawa with a 17-year career. And I did 6.5, almost 7 years with the Airborne Regiment and Battle Group.
Nice. And what year did you get there?
I got there in October 97. It was 87, and I was posted in June 94.
Okay.
Back
nice.
out of base Petawawa.
Nice. Yeah, I was there from 90 to 95. So obviously we were back and forth around each other.
Yeah. Oh, I remember your name actually. Even though I don't remember you, I remember the name because there's certain names that always stood out, when you're going through your nominal roles.
And it might have been a name that always was associated with getting in trouble.
Yeah, I believe that was.
You never know. Yeah. What are you up to now?
Well, I'm a founding member and current chair of Veterans House charity. And other than that, I'm officially retired. And so I keep my hand as a methylene advocate and as an advocate in general. And I'm about to release a book this year. It's at a publisher as we speak for editing.
That's very exciting. And that'll be out this year?
I hope so. Yeah, I very much hope so. And it's on the past 30 years of people being injured by the military, exiting the military, in what they face going into civilian life, and how nothing really has changed in that 30-year period.
Yeah. So. Nice. And you're the one that's kind of been ramrodding the Methylene rally that's held in Kingston every year, correct?
Well, Richard Delve and myself. Yeah, Richard Delve and myself, partner in crime. Yeah. I can blame him as much as myself. That's nice.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. So, and then how many years have you had your rally going for?
So this was a third year because it was COVID is what shut it down. So we started running one in Kingston that year. And then this year we were asked to host the national, which we did, and it was great. You were down for that, and that was wonderful as well to see you.
It was well done, by the way.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get back up into Ottawa soon.
Yes, that would be nice. I think could be time, right?
Yes.
And then what are you most proud about? Whether it's an accomplishment, an award, something to say, something to be proud about, or for other people to say, well done, Stephan. The rally is a good example, but I mean,
but
go on from there. Right?
It'd be a lot more personal, I think, my choice. So I lost all 4 of my children when I exited the military because of what transpired and my experiences. It took me probably close to around 20 years to reconnect with all four of my children, and I've yet to spend one day in the same room as all those kids, and they've yet to spend one day together in their own lives together. So what's nice, what my big accomplishment that I would say I'm the most proud of is that I'm currently in contact with all four of my children, um, building relationships with them, having conversations, and I can see that day that we're all together in a reunion coming one day. So yeah, so it's,
Well
it's not
done.
it's not all that stuff out there. It's
It's
what's inside.
on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry about what went on because of Mefloquine that
Well,
led to that, right?
yeah. Well, these are
Uh,
the things that we learn in life as we go along. I don't think there's any script really that you can follow.
no. And I mean, this podcast is a little bit different because we already know that you guys took Mefloquine, so I really don't have to ask you that question, but I'll ask it. So, did you take Mefloquine?
Yeah, far
And
too
for
long, far too
and for
often.
how long? And how many tours?
Oh, it's just the one tour,
The
and it
one
was
tour,
enough
yep.
that was enough to sink me. It totally destroyed my
Yeah,
existence. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
One tour.
started dosing, I think it was in November 92,
Yep.
and I believe we stopped until August of
Yeah,
93.
yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
And I was on the same tour, so
Yeah.
I took Mefloquine at the same time as Stephan, right? So we'll slide over now and talk to Bodil, and let's hear where you're from.
I'm born in Norway, Nesbyen, it's called. It was flooded this summer, extremely flooded. I don't know if
Oh
you.
no, I
There
never
was
caught the
a lot
flood.
of Nordic countries that got severe weather problems.
Okay.
But
Whereabouts in Norway is that?
that's South Norway, uh, approximately, I think, 130 kilometers from Oslo.
Okay, nice. My I in fact actually have relatives that are in Norway under the like my family name Rude. They all came from Norway years and
Oh,
years.
so it's Rude
Sorry?
originally, pronounced in Norwegian or Danish. It's Rude,
Okay, nice.
but I
Um,
live in Denmark,
okay,
uh, a small island in Limfjord called Morsø, where I'm about to become a house owner.
oh nice.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. And yeah, my parents were both Danes, but my father worked in the mountains, putting up high voltage pylons
Okay.
in the mountains up there. So
Hmm.
yeah, um,
And what are you currently what are you doing now?
I have been granted what's called a flexible job uh, for people who are too sick for an ordinary job. So I work 4 hours, but get supplemented to a full salary
Yep.
from the government.
Okay.
It's instead of disability pension.
Okay. Yep. And I mean, say for myself, I have different disability pensions. None of them are really related to Mefloquine, but most of them are, right? But our government doesn't currently recognize mefloquine poisoning or quinism. So,
Neither
you know,
does the Danish government. So it's because of severe stress symptoms and whiplash and chronically injured arm that
yeah,
I'm not working ordinary. So at one point, I am going to have a invalid pension, but for now I'm working, and as long as I can,
yeah,
I will, of course. So, but we have our social security is much more different than yours.
okay,
Uh, Before I was granted this job, I was social welfare for 14 years before they approved me, even though I was sick all along.
yeah,
So, so I don't think I have that many work years in me,
yeah,
but as long as I can, so that's their demand. But we are secured in much better ways in Denmark, I must say, than I've heard elsewhere, especially you. But we have the same issues as you have with the VA, I think,
yeah,
that as long as they can make your condition uh, psychiatric, it is supposed to be manageable and
okay,
maybe make it better. And then they won't give you a pension or a flex job or anything like that. Then you're stuck on social welfare until they decide to.
Hmm.
Yeah, they hope you give up eventually.
Yeah.
So, um,
But at least with some assistance then, right?
yeah, social welfare, and that's
Yeah,
absolute minimum
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
because our tax is so high that you really don't get a lot for living, and living is so expensive in Denmark. I live where I live, it's very cheap to live. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
okay. Um, just like same question I asked Stephan is what's one of the things you're most proud of in your life?
My work with abused children and mothers in it's called high conflict cases in Denmark, but
Okay.
it's about uh, kids and who has custody, and that I think I made the biggest difference in that. Uh,
Yeah. With the most vulnerable, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, because the system is blind to that kind of violence.
Yeah.
Uh, so they usually say it takes a football team to help these mothers and kids out of a relationship like that.
Yeah.
So that I've been doing since I had a friend in an abusive relationship and a
Yeah.
daughter caught in between. So and I also have a book project lying on the shelf for now about
Nice.
how to get through a case like that when you're in it.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
very cool. You'll have to keep us informed on that one as well.
yeah, I will. Thank you.
So, so now, and you took mefloquine as well, correct?
Yes, in 2000, I took 7 pills.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally devastated me. And luckily, I was living at my mom's house because I couldn't take care of myself at all. I got vaccines at the same time, and I think the time between Lariam and the yellow fever was too close, which damaged
Okay.
something else as well. Because when I got home from getting the vaccine, my mom told me my eyes were almost lightning red, fluorescing light red. She said it was so spooky.
So your mom noticed the difference in your eyes?
Yeah,
That's
and
sorry.
yeah, she was shocked, but it was just the beginning, of course, because I couldn't sleep, and yeah, all the issues you all know as well. So um,
Why were you taking mefloquine?
I was going to Africa,
Okay.
Nigeria,
Yeah.
and while I was waiting for the travel documents, I kept taking mefloquine because, yeah, that was the only obvious thing to do to be ready and go when I got the papers. But I simply got too sick to leave.
Oh, no way. So you never
Um,
even made it to Nigeria?
no, no,
Really?
I got so incredibly sick.
So then
So
you obviously realized it was from the mefloquine, your problems, or did you
yeah,
realize that
but
at first?
no. Of course, we are always told by the doctors that there's more serious the illness that you are medicated against, the more serious side effects. So I just thought I had to live with the side effects I experienced. I never were told by the doctor if I got any new psychiatric events that I should stop immediately. So I got just continued, and back then I was never at my doctor or calling him or anything. And afterwards, I've been regularly seeing a doctor, but they don't believe it's mefloquine that been doing all this havoc.
Yeah.
So they thought it
Um,
was severe stress symptoms.
really?
Yeah, but and I think that's the difference between me as a civilian and you as soldiers, because the level of stress in the situation when you're taking Lariam, I think that has a definitive role in how severe your symptoms grow and become in time, because I've never had all the severe symptoms as you have, but I've been just miserable enough not to cope with daily life,
Yeah.
but never been hospitalized or anything like that.
Okay. So you were going, what were you going to Africa for? Sorry.
Just travel,
Okay.
seeing things.
Okay. Just wondering because, some people are going on missionary work, some people go for, whether it's a regular work or, or a vacation, and depending on what you're doing and how long you might be in that country or taking the drug.
No, I've always traveled a lot,
Yes.
and and lived in London
Nice.
in the 90s, and so it's been
So you first took Mefloquine in 2000, and
yeah.
so now it's 2023. Do you find that you have an increase in symptoms, or do you have other symptoms of Mefloquine poisoning now that you notice? Or do you have the same kind of symptoms from the start to now?
It's been better, the symptoms, but some of them are getting worse. I don't know, as we get older, some of them worsen, because memory, uh, all the cognitive symptoms, I think, is worsening
Yeah.
these years. I can walk out to my kitchen after the same cup of coffee 7 times
Oh, no.
and things like that. I
Yeah.
don't remember. I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally, I think a lot of the symptoms slowly worsen until we start to notice them, and then they're kind of on our radar, and then so you really notice a difference,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
in the years from when you first took it to now.
Yeah, I began weightlifting after a few years being sick, and that helped incredibly. But then I fell and injured my arm,
Yeah.
and 3 years later, I was in a car accident, and that resulted in a whiplash.
Yeah.
So I can't exercise as much as I wanted now,
Yeah.
and that has definitely worsened my symptoms.
Yeah. Um, just out of curiosity, did you ever have any nightmares associated with Mefloquine?
Yes, night terrors,
Yeah. And you,
and
sorry, go on.
I haven't had any PTSD uh, triggering events in my life. So it's definitely not PTSD, but friends and family does say that my symptoms seem a lot like PTSD, even that it isn't PTSD.
Yeah. And that's kind of the for civilians, how do you figure out what's wrong with you if, for a soldier we can say, oh geez, had a traumatic event, they had this, maybe it's that, right? But as a civilian, and if you don't recall any trauma, it's like, how do you know what's going on or what's wrong with you? You know?
Then, yeah, exactly. But again, it's evidence both for you and for me, because I haven't had any trauma, but experienced these PTSD-like
Yeah.
symptoms. And the other way, you?
And which, sorry?
Yeah, but that's the evidence is good to know for both of us, because it doesn't have to be PTSD.
No, no.
Uh,
No, and to be honest, most people that took mefloquine, and I think where mefloquine is the chief or the main primary problem, is that
yeah,
it's commonly misdiagnosed for PTSD or a traumatic brain injury.
yes, and it's tragic. I've never been misdiagnosed like that. Uh, the severe stress symptoms I was labeled with only helped me because it gave me the peace and quiet I needed to recover,
Yep.
and taking it in my own on my own terms. But PTSD, you can heal somewhat about from that, but you can't
Yep.
heal from mefloquine poisoning.
No.
So
Yeah, there's nothing. I think Dr. Nevin says the none of the effects can be reversed. I don't think,
no, it
but
can't.
yeah, because it's actually done damage to the brainstem. Correct.
Yeah, and I don't remember who talked about it, but it's. I think maybe David Bowen talked about us having problems sleeping on our backs,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
can confirm that because of my whiplash. I prefer sleeping on my back, but I can't. So I'm sleeping in my office chair.
Oh no. Yeah.
So yeah,
So, you're when you went back to work after the after your 7 pills and everything, because you said you worked for another 3 years and then you had a car accident.
yeah,
So
um,
was it affecting you during that time when you went back to work?
yeah. I was studying. I was attending art academy, and I thought I worked as hard as my co-students, but I didn't. I couldn't keep up, and then I collapsed and went on sick leave with severe stress symptoms.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I thought that because I have rapid heart rate after that, but I found out that that could be Lariam as well that has done that. I'm getting beta blockers to keep my heart rhythm steady.
Okay.
So, and yeah, tired, chronically tired
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, but when I dropped out of the art school, then I had the peace and quiet needed. And then I found out it was Liam, and it was the 60 minutes program about Fort Bragg I saw. And I told my mom the day after I saw it, and everything just seemed to fit
Yeah.
with, yeah.
Um, Say for, once you knew what your issues are or part of your issues, what different types of healing modalities or alternative remedies have you done to try to mitigate some of your symptoms, or just to be able to sleep at night, or to be able to focus, or things like that?
I haven't really tried that much because I have been on strong pain medication as well.
Yeah.
But I did do weightlifting, which helped a lot. And I tried,
Yeah, the exercise really makes a difference, I think.
yeah,
Helps us, or
I,
even clears our mind a bit, right?
yeah, it does. But it always also connects the nervous system much better than
Okay, yeah.
anything else. So as long you're physically active, you postpone the nerve damage that might be.
Yeah.
Uh, I tried some cleansing teas and cures, but every time I tried it, the symptoms came back at me like I never experienced before. I got so sick.
I wonder why.
So cleansing, I tried some teas and stuff, but that didn't work. On the contrary, I got so sick of it.
Yeah. Do you find anything else might help? Yoga, massage, acupuncture, there's the Loretta neurofeedback.
I haven't tried that. It's very expensive still here in
Yeah.
Denmark.
Yeah.
But I'm actually thinking about making a crowdfunding to get a brain map done, at least, because
And
you
what do
can
you,
use
sorry.
because it can be used equivalent to the scan made in the ordinary system. So I've been thinking maybe that's my way in to get some kind of proof
Yeah.
to the damage done.
Yeah.
So
Anything else you've tried, or anything else that you find
no,
helps?
my
No?
dog, my dog,
Yeah, yeah.
he's
Read you on that one.
self-taught therapy dog.
Nice.
Yeah, when both physically or mentally I'm off, then he's always coming over to check if I'm okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they're
yeah,
pretty amazing.
yeah, they are.
So, Stephan, for yourself, when did you first take mefloquine?
Yeah, that was about 6 weeks prior to departing for Somalia with the Airborne Regiment. And my immediate reaction was that night I did not sleep. And it's been over 31 years now, and I still have not had a natural night's sleep in 31 years. I sleep 8 hours a day now, but that's because of what I've learned and what I do. But back at the
Okay.
time, it was just I did not sleep. And I think it was like February, about February, um, when I first started getting more than 1 hour at a time. Like, so I would sleep for an hour and then I'd be up for the radio shift because I was going to be awake anyways. And then I was able to go back to bed for another hour. But that was like 4 months after we started taking it.
It, not until February before you even slept it more than an hour? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, right. Like, I personally, I can't, I slept more than that myself, but I think it was only, 3 or 4 hours even myself. And I thought it was normal because it was too hot to sleep, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought it was, like I was a single father, I had two kids at the time, and I'm I had to hire a live-in nanny. So there's a lot of things that are going on in your mind all the time. Plus all the extra training we were doing beforehand, and so yeah, I dismissed it initially, right? I didn't see it as being a symptom, and I didn't know that it was one because even I was a medic, right? And
Yeah,
there was knew nothing about this drug other than, oh, we're going to have some wild dreams. It's like everyone thought erotica automatically. It's military, right?
yeah,
So you dismiss, and part of the who we are, we dismiss a lot of things just to keep going,
yeah,
and do what
yeah.
we have to do. So I didn't realize the effects methadone was having on me until I was started withdrawing from it, because that's when my real problem started.
Sorry, when you started with,
Withdrawing.
yeah,
Yeah. So what happened after we got back, I was course loaded for combat leadership course, and it, I was having both Bodil was saying, the night terrors, well, that's what I was told they were, but they weren't night terrors. They were mefloquine mares. You know what I mean? They were it was the side effect of the drug, and then on top of that, I started hallucinating. I was walking a trench line in November, ice on the ground through the trees. I walked that entire trench line the whole time. In my mind, I was back in a desert, So automatically, I mean, jumping through your questions back and forth here, I'm sorry, but to explain, it when I'm sitting there with a psychiatrist and they're going, "Oh, you're having flashbacks. Oh, you're having night terrors, right?"
yeah.
So it becomes the excuse that's what we can identify it as. So we're going to treat it symptomatically for that. The problem is it was a brain injury. It was encephalopathy of the brainstem. It was messing up the neural pathways, wreaking havoc through the system and breaking things down. And nobody knows anything about it. That's kind of where things
Nothing,
were
right?
at back then. That was 30 years ago, and we still don't. We're not any further ahead.
Except maybe that we know the drug is can be really bad, right?
Well,
All
yeah.
the stuff that's being associated with it. You know, the
Oh,
guy that uh, forgot who he was, and he was in India,
yeah,
right? Like, and I think that one is the answer to the riddle is me, I believe, is the name of that book, right?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that was in 2014. But just to go back for a sec, Stefan, is so you were a medic deploying to Somalia, and at the time, so to go back to why were you taking methadone?
That's the best question in the world because there was no mosquitoes and no malaria in the desert. So, real question is why were we taking it? Other than the fact we were ordered to take it for our well-being, but that wasn't for our well-being.
No. And so, and also to go back that we've learned recently is that it was actually part of a drug trial that we were in, correct?
That's correct.
And so as a medic, as a healthcare professional, did the military brief you at all about that drug?
Nope.
Side effects,
No,
things to watch out for, nothing.
no. I
No.
remember we got a hold of a product insert, and that's when and we were told it was an experimental drug. And the only thing we got out of it from that discussion, and there was probably a dozen of us there, um, was that, like I said, we're going to have erotic dreams. That was the takeaway from reading the pamphlet. It's like, I'm sorry, airborne paratrooper, my brain's not working right. I can't understand why we didn't click into that. I really can't.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I don't. You know, many things say many things I think I was affected by. I think it was the drug that kind of affected some of my skills while
oh, all
driving the vehicle and stuff like that, right?
everything. I had a complete personality rewrite. of my brain. I don't know who that person was that emerged out of Somalia, but I still can't recognize that person. In the Yeah, like I used to be a very decent, interactive person, someone that you would want to spend time with, and all of a sudden I was became this person that you don't want to spend time with me. Like,
Yeah.
very unstable, explosive. Um, yeah,
The Danish
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
the,
Bodil.
the Danish military deemed Lariam too dangerous for Danish soldiers.
Huh.
yeah.
You, and a question on that. So, for all the troops that went into Somalia, right? We had the Italian Folgori or whatever, the Italian
Hmm.
paratroopers. We were replaced by German Fallschirmjägers. German
Yeah.
paratroopers came in and replaced the Canadians. You had, I think, was it the Nigerians were there with the UN peacekeeping? Was it Nigerian or
I'm not sure on that. I remember
it
India.
was an African country, I think, right?
I remember India was there.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. There was an African
Pakistani.
country. There was an African country. I don't think it was Nigeria though, but yeah, there was one.
And there was well, the Pakistani peacekeepers
Yeah.
who were killed at the end of our tour. And you also had Belgian, I think it was Belgian paratroopers, maybe. There seemed to be a lot of special forces, in my opinion, that were stationed or that went to Somalia. There was no government really to speak of, correct?
Yeah.
And so we were in a lawless country, and it was all these special forces, and I wonder what everybody else took on the tour, or everybody else that was in there. 10th Mountain was there,
Yeah. The Americans
right?
were all on Lariam as well, like Mefequin.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Germans would have been on Mefequin as well because the Germans used it.
Okay.
Um, so for that you have to go. This is where you need Dave Bona.
Yeah,
um,
we'll be
the,
talking to him on another issue, no, or
yeah.
on another episode for sure.
Yeah, but, the Germans, the British, us Australians, New Zealand, Canada, United States, all of those ones for sure used it. Possibly France, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's I don't know. It kind of brings up some questions, like what really was, like, if you're saying, right, if there's no mosquitoes, there's really none there, then
why are all
why
these
were
countries
all
using it?
these, yeah,
Yeah,
and all done technically before the drug was really passed, right? Because it's
so
safe for us, right?
in the US it was passed.
Yeah.
So they licensed it back in the early 80s. And WHO did a study on it in 1985. That study was published in 87. And of note of that study is that there was a 38% neuropsychiatric injury rate, roughly 650 some odd people, the study size. And that was 5 years before Canada demanded its use for our military. And so
Yeah.
you have to wonder if there's a study published in 87 that says this drug has a 38% neuropsychiatric injury rate. Why are you chasing it 5 years later to be used in operational theaters?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
So
sorry, you're going to take a highly trained fighter with a lot of skills for developed over tens of 20s of years, right? And you're going to destroy them with a neurotoxicant. For what reason?
and we're going to place you into a lawless country, or we're going to put you in a war zone, and right, like the added stressors, right? And how do you know you're you're not what do paranoid, right? Because of the drug, or you're just paranoid because you're in a country where people want to kill you,
Yeah,
right? And that kind of uh goes to what Bodil was saying, right? She
yeah,
didn't experience any of that. And then how do you for Bodil, how does she find out what's wrong with her, right?
Yeah, well, this is the big problem. So literally, I kid you not, Wednesday, 3, 4 days ago, all right, I was in my doctor's office. It's a brand new doctor. We've gone through like 6 doctors in 6 years. There's obviously a problem there, but that aside, I'm talking to this doctor, and he's got no clue what mefloquine is. And so I had to explain it. He says, "Well, why wouldn't it be post-traumatic stress?" And then I had to explain that when all these symptoms and what I got him on was criterion H under the diagnostic criteria manual for diagnosing post-traumatic stress disorder. It states really clear, if you took a drug that can cause these symptoms, you're not allowed to be diagnosed with PTSD. So the 18,000 veterans who took mefloquine in Canada, right? And roughly
Yeah.
the 7,000 that are traumatically injured from it, right? And have mental health diagnosis, anything other than mefloquine, it's unlawful because it clearly states that you can't label someone as post-traumatic stress disorder if you've taken this type of a drug.
Hmm.
That to me is like, okay, and that's been out there for how long? And
they just ignore it. Is that kind of what we're
ignore it.
saying?
Like I said, like this just 1 week ago, new doctor, and like he ended up, he had no choice but to take my word for it. And I said, you should read this book, and I referred him to Remington's book that he just wrote. But I mean,
And
seriously,
which one was that?
so it's on mefloquine. He remember a couple of years ago we sent out the letter from a psychiatric a neuropsychologist,
Yeah.
neuropsychotherapist, excuse me.
Okay.
And part of chapter 7 of his book was included in that letter. So it's actually been, I think, a couple of years as it's been out.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I wish I knew the name of it right off the top of my head, but
Yeah, I'll have to Google that, and we'll throw it in later or something.
yeah.
But
Well, actually, if you ever get Doc Nevin on the show, which I hope you will, you can be a great thing to drill on, is to have him take you through the book.
And say even probably about a month ago, I went on the Ken Wells show, the Caravan to Midnight. It was a radio station. They're on over 70 radio stations in the US, I think, or in North America, live streaming on 10 different platforms. And we talked about mefloquine on there for a good hour and a half. And yeah. And sorry, that's where I was trying to go, is that Dr. Nevin had written there was an article written, I think maybe in 2015 or something, and drawing a lot of parallels to all the things that were going on, right? And he really nailed that one, and that's something I'd want to be talking to him about, because that we kind of talked about his about that paper on the radio show for an hour and a half, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
So I think, well, you already mentioned, I think you had nightmares. Did you have nightmares?
Oh, yeah, but not until I was coming off of the drug. They were like delayed onset or something, because I wasn't sleeping.
Oh yeah. So
it wasn't
hard
until
to
I
have a
started
dream.
sleep. Yeah, by the time I started sleeping again, that's when the nightmares hit, and then that's when, and they were horrific, man. Like, they were brutally horrific. Yeah, and once
But
again,
do you think
go
you
ahead.
simply blocked some of the nightmares out? Because I think I blocked most of them out, but I remember waking up feeling so scared, or just really uncomfort
Yeah, for me,
about,
I would describe it as terror.
yeah,
Yeah.
waking up after that kind of nightmare or meflomares. I think I blocked most of them out because they're so horrible.
Yeah. I was told of a dream when I was in Somalia by a friend, and then 30 years later, say, I was told kind of this about the same dream by another person. And then I was telling that to Dr. Nevin, and he was saying, some of those dreams are very, a lot of people have the same really messed up nightmare, right?
Yeah.
And it affects everybody, and it does, and it doesn't come from trauma, right? And that's what
No.
the part of the drug that that's why they say the nightmares actually tell a big part of the story, because
Yes.
they're
Yes.
nothing related to trauma, and they're very sick and twisted dreams, right? Some of
Yeah,
them.
and the fact that they have all the other physical manifestation of problems that we have as well, and they didn't put their bodies through abuse, not like us, so but so they have the same vestibular imbalance, they have the same gastrointestinal issues, they have this, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. My balance is off, and when I got the whiplash, it's
Now it's amplified, probably. Is it
really
worse now?
bad.
Your bounce?
Yeah. Whiplash affects your balance as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that some things have improved with time, but other things now are getting worse. And I went probably from about 97, 98 up until about 2 or 3 years ago without having hallucinations or anything like that. And then out of the blue, um, I'm having blackouts. I'm up in the middle of the night for 5 hours scaring the crap out of my wife. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's classic what I would refer to as a mefloquine attack with all, like the gastrointestinal, can't control to regulate your body temperature. You're sweating all the time, even though you're freezing cold. Like just, the sensory overload, you know, um, those things I still find periodically can are actually worse. And that kind of worries me for what the future might hold.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other things have settled down
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same time.
My grandmother had Parkinson's disease and died from it as well. And she got it, in the 60s when housewife was sitting over their coffee and swapping nerve tablets. That's what they did then. And
Yeah.
the doctor said that her Parkinson's disease were probably induced by those pills back then. And that's my biggest fear, that I'll end up when I'm 60 with Parkinson's disease as she did.
Yeah. Can I ask, how old were you when you actually took your first drug or took the mefloquine pill?
That was, I was 25.
Yeah. Same for me. I was about 20, 22 in the
I was
Airborne
in my,
Regiment.
I was in my mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. So for Stephan and I, it's been 30 years, 30 years since we took it. And for yourself,
Yeah.
it's been 23, 24 years.
Yeah.
And, all of us are noting issues that are becoming more pronounced or worse,
Yeah.
with some
Exactly.
possibly getting better, right?
Yeah.
For myself, I know like anxiety can be a big one, and I've taken another treatment called ketamine, and that
Okay.
actually kind of dropped off some of those symptoms. So that doesn't bother me quite as bad, but
When I was getting the strong painkillers, morphine, like
yeah,
it settled me mentally. And I think it's because it the morphine goes into the nervous system and relaxes that system that's damaged by Lariam.
Yeah.
Yeah, alcohol does that as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
that many of us become alcoholics as a result of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
but when I
what,
was taking morphine like medications, uh, the brain fatigue that I suffer a lot from uh, almost disappeared.
yeah,
Oh,
so I found that right now I microdose with psilocybin magic mushrooms. I do 600 milligrams every 2 weeks, and I don't worry about anxiety. I, I I had serious issues keeping things chronologically in order, and I'd mess up my tens, hundreds, and thousands all the time. And I'm so bad I couldn't even remember my own age, and I would be guessing, you know. But since I started microdosing every 2 weeks, I catch myself mixing up my tens and hundreds and thousands. I don't have any issues putting things in chronological order any longer. I'm focused. I'm relaxed. The anxieties are like at zero. And here in Canada, it's available if you know what you're doing or how to get it. You still have to be careful about finding the right dosage because you don't want to do damage to yourself. So I took my time, and by that I mean it took me 2 years just to get up to my current dose for what works the best. And you know, it's just amazing though, where when I was given an antidepressant, I was given the anxiolytics, I was given all the mental health drugs that caused a psychiatric break and landed me in a psych ward for 6 months, which is why I lost my
Yeah,
kids and everything.
and
And
what year was that?
that was in '97. And that's what caused my release out of the military as well. And then, you know, like I look at stuff today, like with the psilocybin, it's $200 for an entire year. I don't have to take a pill every day, you
Yeah.
know, and just have such control and focus, you know.
yeah,
And now for sleeping at night, I used cannabis. I've just switched over about a couple months ago to I could make my own butter, and I use that, and I take a CBD butter in the morning and a THC butter at night,
Yeah.
and I sleep 8 hours a day. My body doesn't hurt anymore. Like a lot of the aches and pains I know are related to some of the damage done, but it's just so everything is so toned down. It's like when you're taking the morphine. Or my other alternative, of course, is I could just be drinking all day long, and that's going to do the same thing. But those become
yeah,
self-destructive. Whereas
yeah,
And it's a
now with the
depressant to begin with.
yeah with the
Yeah.
with the plant-based approach, I'm just finding everything so much more level
Yeah.
and smooth.
mm, yeah.
So are you on any pharmaceuticals at all, Stephan?
No.
And Bodil, and for yourself for pain, obviously. Um,
Yeah, I'm taking Lyrica.
okay, I've heard of that
It's
one. Yeah.
I think it's epileptic drug, maybe
That's
also,
that would
and
not
Yeah.
surprise me.
painkiller.
Yeah, I think I've.
So because Doc Nevin, when we were at the Methquin rally, was
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
that the epileptic drugs work really well. In fact, I did one for 12 years. I was on an um, what the heck was it? Can't remember the drug name anymore. But it was a seizure medication essentially, and it was
yeah,
great for 12 years until my body started reacting to it, and then I had all the side effects that basically say you can't take this drug any longer. You know,
Yeah.
so I had to stop taking that. But
yeah. But it
that's another thing too. Just out of curiosity, Badel, do you find that you're really sensitive to medications? Because I find that almost any
Yes,
medication will cause me problems.
extremely. Even
Yeah.
allergy tablet
Oh,
can,
sorry.
Yeah.
can make me so sick.
The energy drinks, I took the like Red Bull now, like I was told, oh yeah, the drinks aren't very good for you. You know, I used them before or whatever, but I had bought a case the one time at Costco. Had one drink and was like losing it for like 2 hours, and that was it. Got rid of the energy
Yeah,
drinks.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got sick, I stopped alcohol, junk food, all kinds of sodas and sugary drinks.
Yep.
But then my stress coach told me that she was fearing for my health if I continued uh, cutting out bad habits because that would stress my body even more.
Okay.
So I'm still smoking and I'm still drinking coffee, but that's just what I do now and have been done.
How
So
can you give up a coffee? Right? Like even though it's kind of hard, but
Okay,
it's
so
bad for you
I
and
have
cause
my
issues,
coffee,
but
but I only have it in the morning.
I'm
me,
Not
it don't matter.
when I was attending art school, there's a semester uh, around 4 months per semester, and we used up a coffee machine every semester.
Oh no,
So it's a handicap from my work, drinking a lot of coffee. But that's it.
Hmm. The what are some other things that you've tried, Stephan, for healing modalities or uh, different remedies?
I went through the whole psychiatric mental health gambit of neuropsycho babble crap and EMDR, um, cognitive therapies, you name it, right? Nothing was effective. The only thing that really was effective, and I remember the name of the drug now, was Tegradol. It was a great stopgap for a number of years, allowed me to live my life, but until I couldn't take it anymore, and then every symptom came back. I find that diet change was huge. When I got rid of processed foods, starch and sugar, um, my anxiety dropped on its own a fair amount. Um, and then neurofeedback, another real big one there for helping to calm things down. Um, and I think you have to get into a particular frame of mind, and that probably the hardest part of the healing process is to forgive yourself and to accept that it wasn't you who was in control of the wrecking ball that took out everyone's life around you, including your own. Uh, and that takes, I think, a lot of work to be able to forgive yourself and to accept that, and to know that your life is not it's not complete yet, and there's a lot more to live and a lot more to do. So I think people get caught up in the destruction, and then they go down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of people when they don't see that they have issues or don't see that they have problems, and then they go down the drinking path to help them sleep or whatever, right? Not many people are, actively trying to get better or trying to solve some of their or mitigate some of their problems or issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any medications you've taken? Like, I'm say like I did ketamine that helped me with the anxiety. I think I did that at a field trip health in Toronto.
Yeah, for me, the psilocybin and the cannabis have been phenomenal in the past 2 years. And now that I've got the delivery system fixed, I get this long sustained release of what my body needs. I didn't go into stuff like Lariam not Lariam neurofluid, excuse me, the ketamine or that kind of approach. My big fear is that it's chemical in nature and that I'm going to have a chemical reaction. And I do know lots of guys who've tried it, and most of them benefited. Some of them swear by it. I've only heard one negative, and that was one veteran who claimed that he took one too many dose and now was incontinent. And I don't know if that, because I've never seen the medical report. I don't know what the relationship is. But for me, it was just like I've had enough of the hallucinations and ultimate realities. I just want to stay calm and focused and at peace. And that to me, I've got a routine and a regiment of plant-based medicines that keep me in very good health, focused, and in a happy place in life. So that's where I plan on staying. And the only anxiety that's sitting in the back of my mind is that one day those things won't be able to keep everything in balance.
Yeah. Say as we start to experience the symptoms or trying to deal with them, we'll try to adjust our lifestyle or try to make changes to make things better, right? And once you have them, like say not drinking anymore or things like that slowly help us, get better, sure makes a difference. Yeah. Just to ask, so for myself, the whole reason, say 4.5 years ago, I started driving, talking about methylquin or going around, is because for myself, suicidal ideation was one of the bigger problems that I had from the symptoms and having attempted twice on pills. Have either of you been affected by suicidal ideation?
No, neither depressive mindset at all.
Okay.
When I initially got sick with stress symptoms, as we thought then, my doctor asked if I was depressed or anything. And I told her then that no, I never been depressed. So no.
And well, that's good for you.
But the physical symptoms has always been my biggest issue. The stomach cramps and headaches. I can have headaches lasting for days.
Yep.
At the time.
Just to talk about the headaches, a friend that I serve with, he had to stop deploying for a portion because of the extent of his headaches, right? And even for myself, that's a symptom that I used to have, like constant headaches, and I would take the which one? I would take the Advil liquid gels helped me the most. But man, that's one thing I think that's completely gone away for me is the headaches.
Yeah, they were gone for a period for me as well, but they're coming back now.
Okay. So you didn't have them for a time? Do you think could it be a change?
That was when the weightlifting and hard physical training.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then now that stopped?
Then they come back.
Yeah. Stephan, yourself?
So I would have been the flip side of the coin for suicide. I would have been, uh, I was so outwardly enraged. It's not my life I would have been taking. It's anyone else's. I would have just gone on a rampage, and I don't know
Yeah.
why or how really that didn't occur in a lot of times, but it would. I was always heading towards that direction.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, to those migraines and headaches, absolutely. And I'm very happy to say I don't suffer them any longer, and I hope they never come back.
Nice. But now, do you
Yeah.
find, say, your insomnia, if you don't take cannabis or whatever, do you find that you're still not able to sleep?
Yeah, if I don't take the cannabis, or then yeah, it's an
Few
all
hours
nighter.
or something. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
not even that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that stays with us that we'll never get back, say,
yeah,
because I've ran into a lot of veterans, a lot of people that took methylquin that, say they're not medicating for it and they're getting like 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, like
yeah,
for decades, right?
yeah,
It's yeah, it's a huge issue, and then affects us during the day and moving on, right? Because you're not getting the rest or anything that's needed. Um, is there any treatments that you've heard of or anything that you're wanting to try or that you know that you're looking at? Anything?
No, I have such a distrust for the medical system that uh, like even when I had to go to see my doctor last week, it was to fill out a bunch of paperwork and get it done. And it's like I told him right up front, I don't want to be here. I said, I have no trust for them. I don't, uh, they don't have my best interest at heart. I think they only have their knowledge at heart. They have their knowledge of disease, and if you spout off certain words, then that's I can associate that here, and I can get paid.
Yeah.
But the lack of interest in core problems has produced in me the lack of interest in seeking out other solutions because I just don't trust them to do what's in my best interest.
Yep. No, I can understand that part. I mean, for having gone through the system, and they call that also, what's that called when you go there for help and that's not what you get?
Yeah,
Sanctuary trauma, right?
yeah,
That you can get as well.
Yeah.
So I think that would be something that would affect most of us, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not even something I'm overly emotional about. I just that it's not part. I've cut that out of my life. It's like no, not a part of my life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, there's one treatment that I have heard about, and I'm wondering if if it can make a difference for us, and it's called a double sympathetic reset. And the double sympathetic reset is kind of like resetting your which system is that? Your
Limbic,
your pardon?
limbic.
So what it is it's two injections into the left side of in your is it L3 and L6?
Hmm.
Uh, and then it's done on both sides. So it's done on I'm going to probably get this wrong, but it's done on one side, and that I think it's maybe on your right side is your, say, adult brain and things that affect you. And what they do is inject a anesthetic into your central nervous system, into the in the back there, or in your L3 and L6 or whatever. And then they'll do the other side, which can actually be associated with childhood trauma, and they do that treatment the next day. and see if you get relief. And what they say is it kind of releases the like say the anesthetic, like relaxes your system and turns the switch off, right? So the switch was flicked in trauma and then it stays there, right? So the double sympathetic reset is what they're saying, is it kind of resetting your nervous system so that it's back, say, pre-childhood even, I think.
So I could see, or I understand the theory that behind that. In particular, if it is a matter of real trauma that you suffered, i.e., you really do have post-traumatic stress disorder. But
Yeah.
I'm curious as to
Whether it was from
the effect it would have, on a chronic encephalopathy, which is, essentially causing seizuring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see. Partly, like you say, you have a bit of distrust, or you don't, have too much faith in the medical system per se, or at least I don't totally, right? Because I'd be a little nervous on what's being injected into my neck, or right, even though I'm told it's for this or for that, but there's a lot of hesitancy because of what issues we're now dealing with.
Yeah, and as it's not recognized in the system, healthcare system, it's really only up to us to decide whether or not to take some kind of medication.
Yeah.
And I've been struggling a lot now with the chronic pain and pain meds and stuff like that. But I decided to do it and hope for the best. And but what you miss out on a lot of things your doctor could have told you.
Yeah.
Because they don't recognize it, and you just will have to decide on your own, no matter what the doctor says. And I can see a lot of problems for all of us in that, because if you take a bad choice, you can't explain what happened to the doctor because they don't recognize the poisoning. So I think it's a constant dilemma for us.
Yep.
As long as it's not recognized.
Yep. To go back to what you were talking about earlier when we were talking about some of the symptoms and everything, but was you were talking about you wanted to get a brain map done, and what kind of, because you're talking about crowdfunding or whatever, what kind of a price is it for you in Denmark in order to get the brain mapping done?
Oh, I think it's up. I'll just check.
Just because basically we're all in it together, right? Because we're all faced with the same problems, same issues, and anything that can help you or help me or Stephan, right, is going to help somebody else. And many of our symptoms are all the same, right? And if we incorporate some of the things that others do, then it's going to help us. We may not be 100% again, but if we can get to, get to 80, 90 or whatever, right? To be able to have more quality of life than what we were left with due to the decision of taking this drug, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
it's about
Yeah.
1,300 Canadian dollars, I think.
Okay. So that's something we're going to help you with. Okay.
Yeah.
Because say your network, say on the civilian side, I mean, how many people took mefloquine? How many people talk about taking mefloquine, right? But
Yeah.
on
And
on the military,
how many knows that it's what's causing the issues? Because they would, I thought that it was stress symptoms, and I think that's the difference between soldiers and civilians. That the stress level that you were in when taking Lariam
yeah, yeah.
has some kind of influence on how severe the
Yeah.
rest will be.
Now say when you took, now could there be a slight difference in dosage? Do you think,
No,
Stephan?
no, not at
No,
all.
No,
250.
250? Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
I think it's all individual. And so uh, Leah is if a civilian who took one mefloquine tablet. Well, uh, getting ready to go on a vacation, she was working at a clinic in the South America, and that one tablet caused her to come home in a wheelchair, drooling, and locked up in a psych ward for weeks, months. And they knew it was mefloquine. Her doctor said it was mefloquine, but even still, her doctor was older and was retiring, and another doctor took over, and all of a sudden she was schizophrenic, she was bipolar, you know. So and that was one tablet.
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
So
that's
I think it's who you are, it's what your makeup is as to if it's going to be one pill or if it's going to be 100 pills. Like
I
it's a real unknown factor.
I know, I think Dr. Nevin had said there's no evidence currently or whatever to cumulative damage from taking more than one, that normally it's the first pill that does the damage anyways. But,
yeah,
there's people that, you know, did 5 tours of 7 months at a time on this drug. And I would think that it would have some cumulative effect.
yeah.
But,
There is one veteran I
I
know of who took the drug over like over a 14-year period,
yeah.
and he didn't. I think it was his third time taking it or something like that when he finally reacted to it.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
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 yeah, but that could also be circumstances in some way. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that you are confronted with something that you haven't been, some kind of triggering, yeah,
That perhaps are,
event or frame of mind you're in, or yeah, maybe something like that. Because I
that I
know of
wouldn't, yeah.
dames that have taken Lariam without any problems. And then
Yeah.
there's me when I'm telling them about it. They look like I'm telling them a bit of a fishing tale
Yeah.
because, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because some of it can sound crazy, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
some of the
exactly.
symptoms, if you look at some of the how mefloquine has made it into the news, right? If you look at some of those examples, right, you're not gonna
Yeah,
question, you know, the problem with the drug, really. Any other things that might is there anything,
Pers-
sorry?
personality changes. Have you had any?
Yeah, yeah. No, when you say that personality change thing, say,
Your character, because
yeah,
I'm extremely introverted person.
Yeah.
And after I took Lariam, I became a hermit.
Yeah. No, because we don't want to be around people that when you're having problems or having issues, and then now you're, you know, caught dealing
Yeah,
with
it
it
has
there.
simply made that introverted personality even stronger.
We talked about it a little bit, but we really didn't dwell on it. It really is the fact that all these civilians who have taken mefloquine under Lariam have the same problems as us who have been through combat. That is the evidence. That's the truth. That's what speaks to me the loudest.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it is.
I think we really need to um, develop closer ties with each other, because that's our salvation. Are
Yeah,
those who never served in the
and
military and took the drug.
that is how we explain to the world how it is, and not let Hoffman La Rocher tell a story.
Yeah. The
Or
sorry.
your mass taught. That is so exciting. I'm hoping for you to go to court.
Yeah, decision, or they're supposed to be coming up with a plan for going through the court system now, aren't they, or something like that?
Yeah,
They were,
they're entering discovery in the spring.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were talking about it be supposed to be October 15th or something from when we went to the rally, I believe, right? But
Well, an October 15th date, that was the judge was going to impose a path forward if the Canadian government lawyers didn't propose one.
oh, okay. See,
And as a result of that, Paul Miller, who's the one of the lawyers, told us that we would be in discovery in the spring, so probably sometime between April, May, June, somewhere around in there.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's inspired me, and that's why I want the brain map, because I want to find out how to proceed if I should get compensation of some kind, not from Rocher, but from the Danish Medical Agency,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
it's really their responsibility to be a buffer for patients' medical health. And they didn't guide anyone about stopping as soon as the new psychiatric symptoms came. So
Yeah.
I think it's their
Yep.
responsibility, because they didn't inform on that. But there has been one case in Denmark where the insert wasn't in the package, and the one that started the lawsuit, that was against Hoffman La Rocher, but he won. But we have some really strange rules about compensation.
Huh.
So it was nothing he got out of it. Not as much as he should have been awarded anyway. Because if for life your life is ruined, and Loretta brain map, because it is as good as an ordinary brain scan, and you can use it in the ordinary health system as well.
My understanding is that some of the guys who had their brains mapped have had indicators that they are both awake and asleep at the same time.
What? How's that?
That's how messed up our brains could be.
Well, don't they
Because
say like when you, because I talked to another guy, so he was saying he had I think the scan done, and there's supposed to be a difference when you close your eyes, that when you close your eyes, your brain is supposed to kind of like start to shut down kind of. But when
Yeah.
we close our eyes, our brain's activity actually increases sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that was the case of my friend. Well, I'll have to try to get him on here as well at another time.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
why we get the hallucinations as well, is because because if you can't separate your dream state from your waking state, and we're having these horrible, horrific nightmares, right? Then are the hallucinations a waking nightmare? Because that's what to me was what it feels like. And so when I see things like what you're saying about the brain mapping, it's a possible indicator that that's one of the things that goes on in our brains.
Yeah. And it's for myself, I almost find that my brain now is, say, a 1 terabyte drive, right? So it only has that much room. And I believe that I'm at the 1 terabyte spot, because I think as I learn somebody else's name, or I meet somebody else, at the other end, I'm dropping somebody else's name, and I'm dropping their memory, and I'm losing it, right? And
Exactly.
and that's how it seems, right? It's like my memory is only this big, and as I'm adding something in, it's dropping out the bottom somebody else's name or some other memory. Yeah. So I'd like to thank you all for being here with us, spending the time. Bodil, once again, thank you so much for staying up till 3 in the morning. No big deal, because we have Mefloquine and we can stay up all night if we want to. And same for you, Stephan. And thank you for your service to our country, and for putting your life on the line. Right.
Thank you for your advocacy, getting out there and keeping the word out there as to what's going on and where it's going.